Hey everyone, I think that we are live now. This is Lindsay Harrel, and I am coming to you live from Phoenix, Arizona, where it is currently 101 degrees, which is actually not bad considering we've been in the 118s in the last few weeks. So, yeah, ugh. I hope you all can hear and see me okay. I'm gonna wait for a few of you to join me. Hopefully will tell me when people get on here. I've actually never done one of these, so it'll be interesting to see how this goes. I am here to talk about my book, The Heart Between Us. Yes. But as you are coming in to join me, I would love to hear from you. So, hi Heidi. All right, here's my first question for you. Where are you from, and what is the weather like in your neck of the woods? That's what I want to know. Okay, right now I'm actually broadcasting from my husband's office because he has the only desk in the house. I want my own office, but we haven't gotten around to creating that quite yet. So my husband is watching the kids. I have a 15-month-old and a 3-year-old. I'll show you a picture here. There they are. Yeah, they're cute, but they're trouble. Anyway, he's watching them right now out in the living room, and so if at some point you hear banging on the door and "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy," that's my life. You can have a little glimpse into my life, but he's feeding them lunch, so hopefully they're sequestered and all that. So let's see, who do we have here so far? Hi, Heidi. I already said hi to you. And Jennifer. Ooh, Wisconsin. What's the weather like there? Is it muggy? Is it nice? I've been to Minnesota in the summer, but I've actually never been to Wisconsin. And oh, thank you, Heidi. You can hear me. Good. And thank you, Jennifer. I loved writing the book, so I'm glad that some people have found enjoyment in it. Oh, Heidi, Massachusetts. Ooh, hot and humid. So I just got back from a cruise a little bit ago, and it took off from Florida, and man, whew, the humidity about killed me. You know, they say Phoenix has a dry heat, and I will take the dry heat. I'm telling you, 118 degrees is not too bad if it's dry. I also have lived here since I was 6, so I'm kind of used to it, and maybe you get used to the humidity too, but oh man, I almost died. Hello, more people joining us, yay. Hi, Linda, thank you so much. Hi, Karen, I think is how you maybe say your name. Ooh, Murrieta. I think maybe I've been there. Hi, Christy. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining me. So a little bit of housekeeping. This is actually the first time I've done a long video chat like this on Facebook. After The Heart Between Us released, I did a little chat on my Facebook page, on my author Facebook page, but it was typing, not talking. So the perfectionist in me wants to get everything just right, but I'm sure that will not be the case since I am not perfect. And so I thank you in advance, everybody, for bearing with me. Any difficulties that there are, or me saying a lot, or anything like that. Yeah, see, there you go. Yeah, anyway, so I know you all give me grace, and I do have notes, so hopefully that helps keep me on track as well. So today I will introduce the book a little bit for people who haven't read it, and then I'll share some behind the scenes stuff, ask you some questions, have you ask me some questions, and do some giveaways. Yay! Just so you know, the way that you get entered into the giveaways is just to type a comment sometime during the chat, and probably the more comments you type, the better. The more you interact, the more chances that you have. And I will use a random number generator right after the chat is over to choose the winners for the giveaways. And the giveaways, unfortunately, are just for U.S. residents. I do love my international readers. Thank you so much for being here. And but yeah, just for people inside the U.S. But and then you'll have, once I tag you or message you, you will have 48 hours to respond to the giveaway request. So, or the giveaway notice, and then give me your address and all that. So, South Carolina, ooh, is that muggy too? That sounds, everything on the East Coast seems like it gets pretty muggy. Humid, whatever. All right, so let's get started. I'll tell you a little bit about myself. As mentioned, I have two little boys, Elliot and Theodore. I'll show you a picture again in case you were not on here when, there they are. Yeah, oh, is it working? Oh well, it's a little blurry, sorry about that. Anyway, I stay home with them during the day, and then I write during nap time or in the evenings. I've been actively pursuing publication since 2011, but before that I got degrees in journalism and English. I also teach online college courses occasionally and freelance edit or write, you know, in my spare time. So much of that. Earlier this week I asked you guys some questions for if you had any questions, and Laura Meyer asked why I started writing. So I was one of those kids that was always, you know, taking a huge stack of paper, folding it together, stapling it, and writing books. Probably a lot of you guys did that too if you were ever a writer. In high school, I kind of abandoned the idea of being a writer because it was too competitive, and I didn't know what I would write about, really. I didn't know what genre I would write. I didn't really feel like I had anything to say. So but after I got my master's degree, I kind of went back to it. And at that time, I had started reading Christian fiction. I'd never really read it before I was in college. And I loved it. I loved, you know, everything about it. And I knew that if I was a writer, that's what I would write. So even though it doesn't give all the answers, obviously nothing can, I feel like it really leaves readers with a sense of hope. And that's really my main goal for writing, is to leave people with hope and to glorify God. In 2016, my first book, One More Song to Sing, was released with a smaller publisher. And then in 2017, I signed a 2-book contract with Thomas Nelson, which is my dream publisher. The Heart Between Us, I'll show you again for those who weren't here, released in March of this year. And I just finished line edits on my next book, The Secrets of Paper and Ink. Not sure if you can see that cover, which I think is just gorgeous. I love pink. It's my favorite. It's my favorite. So, oh, sorry about that picture. And that book won't come out until February of next year, but it's available for pre-order right now. Okay, The Heart Between Us. Let's get started. It's a contemporary women's fiction novel with romantic threads because, you know, I can't write a book without a little romance at least. I'm always that person that's reading books and watching movies and trying to figure out, you know, who's going to get together, how are they going to get together, that sort of thing. But I want to know, for you, what genre do you normally gravitate toward? Like when you're reading, what do you gravitate toward? For myself, I love women's fiction, but the ones that really suck me in and get me up to stay up reading until 3 a.m. are usually suspense or YA dystopian or fantasy, which is funny because those are not at all what I write. But yeah, but I love women's fiction. I do love to read it. There are a lot of great authors. I'm sure you've read some of them. Katie Ganchert, Catherine Ray, Catherine West. Yeah, just so many wonderful women's fiction authors. But speaking of the books I write, let me go ahead and tell you a little bit about The Heart Between Us and the synopsis in case you haven't read it. That's okay. Totally join us if you haven't read it. I won't give away any spoilers, but I will be doing giveaways. I think I said that earlier this week. So it's about twin sisters, Megan and Crystal. And Megan grew up with a heart condition. So she's lived her whole life like in and out of the hospital, being sick on and off. And 3.5 years before the book opens, she got a heart transplant. But when the book opens, she still feels stuck. She's still living at home with her parents. She's 32. She is still working as a library aide in her small Minnesota town. She's just stuck. she doesn't, I don't know, she hasn't done any of the things that she dreams she'd do someday when she's well enough. And at the beginning of the book, she gets the opportunity to meet her heart donor's parents, and they give her, and she discovers that the heart donor is actually an 18-year-old girl who made a bucket list as a way of dealing with some tragedy in her own past. And the parents give her this journal to read, to kind of get to know her heart donor, and she decides to complete the donor's bucket list. And she and her twin sister, Crystal, are kind of estranged. They drifted apart as Megan grew sicker and sicker. And they just became estranged. Crystal, was encouraged to go live her life, and they didn't really have as much in common anymore. So for several different reasons, they drifted apart, and they don't really talk much. And Crystal is a successful architect in New York City. She's married. She's been married for 5 years to a handsome firefighter whom I love, named Brian. But her marriage is in trouble because she keeps putting her career first, and there's reasons for that, and she doesn't really understand the reasons for that. All she knows is, she wants this promotion and all that. But she does decide to go with Megan on the trip around the world to fulfill this bucket list. And the story, while it's a travel story and it's fun and it goes all around the world, it's really at heart, I think, a story about living life to its fullest, and then also about the journey that the sisters take in rebuilding and repairing their relationship. During the course of their travels, though, Megan and Crystal visited several places, including, I'm going to read this list here, Incan ruins in Peru, so Machu Picchu, the Great Wall of China, a castle in Ireland, Galway, Ireland, Edinburgh, Scotland, the London Eye and Buckingham Palace, the Eiffel Tower, Notre Dame in Paris, the Roman Colosseum, Greece, the Great Barrier Reef, the south of France, the Taj Mahal, Egyptian pyramids, and Pamplona, Spain, which is, there's a festival there every year where people run with the bulls. And earlier this week, when I asked if any of you had questions, several of you asked if I had been to any of these places before. In college, I actually got to take a trip to study abroad with students from my university. We went to England, Ireland, Scotland, and I got to take a weekend trip to Paris as well. And that trip is actually like a big inspiration for this book, inspired me in writing it, because it was really more than just a physical journey, in the same way that Megan and Crystal's journey is more than just a physical journey. It was really a spiritual one for me. My mom was sick for a lot of my childhood, and she actually was cancer, and she died when I was 19. I went on this trip with my college about 9 months after she passed away. It was really good for me in a lot of different ways. Really, namely, kind of met God there, kind of got away from what I was doing and the life I was living here, and just got to experience something different. Anyone who's ever traveled knows that culturally, the culture shock, everything's just so different, and that can be a great thing, and it was inspiring to me. And yeah, God met me there. But anyway, all of the other places that I talk about in the novel were just researched. I actually used a lot of personal accounts and blogs and travel blogs, all of that stuff, to do the research for those locations. A lot of encyclopedias, or or travel sites where it talks about the 10 best things to do in such and such in Rome or whatever. I used a lot of those, and one of the best accounts that I got read was one where somebody visited the Egyptian pyramids, and it actually surprised me because it was talking about how it has become more salesy and more, just like a lot of touristy places, right? And even somewhat dangerous, at least at the time that I was writing this book, somewhat dangerous after hours, or in the dark when it's becoming dusk for Americans especially. So I kind of was able to write a scene based on that versus just, oh, the Egyptian pyramids are so amazing and whatever, you know. So it was nice to get like a personal account and kind of use that in my story. But I want to know from you, all this talk of bucket lists. So what is on your bucket list? Or which of the places I mentioned is the one you want to see the most? I have a few dream trips myself. Obviously, I've done England, Ireland, Scotland, although my husband and I would like to do them together because we've both done them separately, but never together. But we really, neither of us have been to Italy, and so I would love to do Italy. Take like a 10-day, 2-week trip, whatever. I know even that's not probably enough to really experience it, but all we could manage with kids. And but we want to do like Rome and Venice and Florence, everything. We actually had the money saved to go before we had kids, and then we decided to be super responsible, which I kind of regret sometimes. I don't really, but it's hard not to be like, oh, we should have gone before we had kids. But we had the money saved, and then we used it to pay off my husband's law school debt because he's a lawyer. So law school is expensive. But anyway, so someday we will go to Italy. The other thing I want to do, like travel-wise for my bucket list, is go to England and stay at a bunch of like bed and breakfasts in the countryside. I think that would be amazing. And you know, I could read, I could write, sit by the hearths and dream, take walks like Elizabeth Bennet in Pride and Prejudice. Yeah, just so that would be a really fun trip. It's hard because, you know, there's so many things to see and do around the world that it would be, you know, it would be nice to just go and relax too and not feel like I had to go sightsee and see everything in like a short amount of time. It could be like a relaxing trip too. And inspire my writing as well. So, okay, let's see if any of you had anything to say. Let's see. Anyone? Ooh, Christy, swimming with sharks. That's amazing. I applaud you for your bravery because I'm not that brave. In fact, my friend Jessica Patch, who, if any of you have ever read her stuff, which is great, she writes suspense, romantic suspense. She likes to tease me because I saw Jaws as a child, or like I've never really seen it. I saw it like on TV a little bit, like when my parents would watch it, and I'd like run from the rooms, like covering my head, like no way. So she likes to tease me and do the ba-dum, ba-dum. And then, yeah, so she teases me about Jaws. She likes to post stuff to my wall about Jaws. Hi, Jessica, if you're watching. Anyway, but swimming with the sharks, go you, that's awesome. And then visit at least one country from each continent. Ooh, yes. Yeah, I'm trying to think what I feel like one of the kind of least talked about, you know, areas would be like Asia, like at least for me. When I think travel and bucket list, I usually think Europe. But like where in Asia would be the most, or do you have a place that you'd rather go or want to go? Okay, Nicole, I would love to visit anywhere in Europe. Never been across the ocean before. Oh, you should go. Oh man, it's amazing. Yeah, Europe is great. And I liked starting with the English speaking ones just because I felt a little more comfortable, but even the culture shock there is a little bit, it can be a lot. But I did go when I was 19 too, so I didn't have as much, you know, experience as I would now maybe, and just worldly experience, whatever. So let's see if anyone else. Chloe, my bucket list is to get my pilot's license. Ooh, that's fun. Took flying lessons after high school but didn't get to finish. That's awesome. That would be really cool. I don't know if I could do that myself. Although I like flying. I don't know if I would trust myself to not be like, ooh, that's so pretty. Oh, I'm gonna crash. Okay. But that's awesome. I love that. Are there some cool places to fly where you live? Like open areas, or you know, like a place to get a plane and fly nearby? Because I'm sure there are some here. I just don't know them. I live in the city, so let's see. Okay, Linda visited Egypt already and climbed inside the Great Pyramid. Oh, that's awesome. That's great. And so I want to go there too. I think it'd be great. Like just those architectural marvels, you know, that's just amazing to me. Okay, let's see. Okay, so I talked a little bit about my inspiration for writing the book, but I wanted to go into that a little bit more. I got the first story spark for the idea when I heard a feature story on K-Love. I think it was K-Love or some Christian radio station. It was talking about, like, the story of the day was a woman who got to skydive because her heart donor had always wanted to and never got to. So she wanted to do that as a way of honoring her heart donor. And I thought that that was really, really cool. So I thought, kind of got the wheels turning. I started thinking, ooh, what if somebody did an entire bucket list, not just, you know, one item on the bucket list? And because of my experience with my mom being sick for so much of my life, I also wanted to explore, you know, what it's like to have an ill family member like Crystal did. And unfortunately, you know, because chronic or long-term illnesses don't just affect the patient. Earlier this week, Carrie Ann Askew, I hope I said that right, asked why I chose to write about a heart transplant patient in particular. It started out because I needed a chronic illness, because I needed, you know, a donor to have donated something and had a bucket list. So I chose the heart mostly because I felt like it's really symbolic, you know, that we obviously have our physical heart, but we also have our emotional and spiritual heart. And I wanted to kind of explore the connection between the two of those. And yeah, so that's why I chose heart transplant patient. Christy Corns asked what my experience with twins was. I actually really don't have one. I don't have a sister even. I only have a brother. But I chose twins because they're normally really close. You know, some of them even have like these crazy links with, you know, they know what the other one is feeling or thinking. But I kind of wanted to explore that idea of like what happens when they get driven apart and why would they be driven apart? So I wanted to explore that. And also I feel like it really added to Crystal's guilt, not just to have a sister that was sick, but a twin that was sick while she was healthy. I think that that kind of added to her, yeah, just to her guilt because, you know, they're in the womb at the same time. Like she almost even feels like she maybe stole Megan's strength a little bit or something, you know, like that. Obviously not logical, but yeah, she just, I don't know, just added to that with it being twins instead. So talking about themes a little bit, this book really explores fear and control. Megan fears the unknown and failing. It's something she's always wanted to. She's always wanted to be a travel writer. She and her friend Caleb, she and Caleb, they were in and out of the hospital together. He also was a heart patient. And they would watch National Geographic and she would say, okay, I'm going to write the stories and you're going to photograph them. And that was their dream. But, you know, she's been well she got a new heart 3.5 years ago and she hasn't done any of that, but she's afraid. And so that's a lot of the story is about her conquering her fears and being brave and living her life to the fullest. And Crystal, on the other hand, has tried to control her life because she never had control over Megan's or even over what was happening in her family. You know, she would try to count on something. She could never count on anything because, you know, Megan might get sick. And she never knew what life was going to hold because she didn't know if she was going to lose her sister or not. And living with that kind of fear and just, you know, issues like that, she just really, now that she's an adult, is like, all right, I am going to be the best architect I can be. I'm going to get a promotion. I'm going to do this. Like she's just zeroed in on wanting to be in control and not trusting God. So are either of those struggles that you can relate with? Which one and why? And how have you moved past it if you have? Obviously, you don't have to spill your life story here, but feel free to share as much as you're comfortable with. As you're all typing, I'll share a little bit about my personal experience with all of this. I actually really relate to Crystal the most on a number of levels. Obviously, my mom was sick, and so I lived with an ill family member. And there was a lot of guilt in living my life and continuing to live my life while she was sick. But what's funny is that Crystal wasn't even going to be, like, she wasn't even going to have her own story initially. When I first told my agent, Rochelle Gardner, the book idea, she basically explained that, Megan's sister Crystal was going to be kind of like an antagonist to Megan's journey, kind of holding her back and stopping her from, really living to her fullest potential. But Rochelle looked at me and she said, you know what? You need to give Crystal a voice, and you need to tell her story too. And like, that could not have been more right on, because I ended up putting so much of myself in Crystal. I struggle, like a lot of people, with wanting to have control, being perfect, wanting to achieve, and putting too much stock in those achievements, really. Finding my self-worth in my achievements instead of in God and who God says I am, and trusting Him to have the perfect plan for my life. So yeah, so I want to see if any of you have gotten a chance to answer that. Oh, we're still talking about bucket list. Ooh, yeah. I know there's a little bit of a lag between what I can see, I think, and what you can see. People have commented about. So, okay, I don't see anybody has mentioned that one. So I'll move on and talk about characters a little bit. Speaking of Crystal and Megan, I thought you might all like to see what I imagine them to look like. By the way, I have 3 Pinterest boards under Lindsay Harrel author, and they're dedicated to The Heart Between Us and what inspired me, like character photos, quotes. You can see some of the really cool settings and like the really pretty pictures of like the different places that they went. So yeah, so go visit me, follow me on Pinterest, and you can see all of these pictures plus more. But for Megan, I imagined a brunette Rachel McAdams. She's so sweet. She almost looks naive and kind and braver than she knows. So that's Megan, the one that had the heart transplant. And then her sister Crystal is, since they're twins, obviously, it's Rachel McAdams again, but as a blonde. And there, doesn't she just look really confident and just in control of herself, but a little bit detached almost, like not emotionally in it as much as she should be, or just kind of like, she's kind of a person that thinks that emotions, like, what's the point of them? They just make you feel out of control. They don't help. They don't change anything. So okay, Crystal's husband, Brian, is a hunky firefighter. So, of course, I had to give him Chris Hemsworth. There you go. Woohoo! Yeah. Not the Thor version, but the clean cut version, or not clean shaven, but clean cut up here. Yes. And then Caleb. Oh, Caleb, how I love thee. So Caleb, for those of you, here he is. Oh, he's such a sweetheart. I love him so much. For those who haven't read the book, Caleb is Megan's friend. I think I shared a little bit from years in the hospital. And he is actually the one that kind of inspired her to take the trip around the world in the first place. He's a travel photographer, and just by his example, he's showing he's living the life that Megan has always wanted to live. He's being brave. He's not letting fear hold him back, and he's actually my favorite male character that I've written. I have a few unpublished books as well, and even with those books and the published ones, he's still my favorite. Although I will say that William from The Secrets of Paper and Ink, which releases in February, is giving Caleb a run for his money, because he is a literature professor who is British. So Yeah, deadly combo. Woo! Anyway, I really like William, but Caleb, yes. Okay, let's see if anybody. Okay, we're still talking bucket list. Okay, so before we do a general Q&A, I'd like to show you the giveaway items that I have up for grabs. Yay! To make sure there's not a lot of lag time, because like I said, like I can see certain, I can't really see your comments as they come up. It kind of takes a little bit of time sometimes. So go ahead and start asking any questions that you have about me or my writing or my books or The Heart Between Us, or if you want to talk about anything else, feel free to go ahead and start writing those comments and questions in the chat. I will go ahead and review the giveaway items now. But as a recap, the giveaways are for U.S. residents only. Sorry about that. Just write comments and you get entered to win. So that'll be easy. And after this is over, I will go through and choose people. So, okay, first item is a signed copy of The Heart Between Us. Yay. And if you have already read the book, and I mean, either it will make a good, and you win it, and you, it will either make a good gift for a friend or a family member, or I do have a couple copies of my first book, One More Song to Sing, if you haven't read that. So I'm happy to sign that one and send that one instead if you already have this one and don't want another copy. So there's that. There is a tote bag, which is really fun. London. Oops, nope, wrong way. Sorry, there you go. So that's a fun tote bag. It's got a zipper. It's pretty sturdy. So a nice book bag there for you. You go to the library or just out and about. Some vintage Italy note cards. We've got like these great scenes of Italy, and they're kind of vintagey, obviously. That's really fun. And then this one is one of my favorites because, and I've given a couple of these away before, but this is a really cool little journal. And it's kind of what I imagine Amanda, who is the heart donor in The Heart Between Us, her journal to look like. She's hers has a picture of the Eiffel Tower on the front of it, and this is where the bucket list would have been. But anyway, you get a blank journal if you win this item. And then also, I'm going to give away a $10 Amazon e-gift card. So that will be, if you win that one, you can just supply me with your email address and I will send that one. Yeah. And then if I notify you of a giveaway, you have 48 hours to respond so that I can get your address and hopefully get everything mailed this week so you can get it ASAP. Okay. So now it is time for the Q&A. Feel free to ask me anything. Like I said, I'll choose a few to answer before we run out of time, though it looks like we still have a little bit of time. If I don't get to your question here on the video, I'll be sure to type an answer after the chat is over. But remember, ask questions and comment so that you can get entered in the giveaways. So what do you guys want to know? Let's see. Okay. Oh, thanks, Nicole. Great choices for all the characters. That was fun to pick those. Okay, Nicole asked, how long does it take you to write an entire book from start to finish, including the editing process? So I only release one book a year at this point. With my kids, it's just all I can manage. But it usually takes me about maybe a month to brainstorm, because I'm a plotter. I like to plot everything out beforehand. So I like to, know everything about it. Not everything about a character, but a lot about the character, who they are, what they struggle with, what lie do they believe, what do they need to change in their life, and what starts them on that journey. And then I even like to go down to the nitty-gritty and plot each scene out. Now I do give myself leeway to change that if I'm writing and I get to a scene and I'm like, oh yeah, no, that's not going to work, because now I know my character a little better. I know what they would and wouldn't do. So that takes me maybe a month, and then I can write a scene in like a 2-hour time period. And usually I write when my kids nap, and they nap for a couple hours. So I can usually bust out a scene, and there's usually like 50 to 60 scenes in a book. So it'll take me about that many writing sessions and that many days. So it usually, if I write, I usually probably can draft a book in about 4 months, maybe, with as much, because I have the other stuff that I'm doing too. Like I'm also having to market and promote and be on social media, and my other jobs where I do a little bit of freelance editing. But the editing, then I will usually go through it and edit it myself, and then it gets to my editor. Now, Thomas Nelson has, like about 3 rounds of edits. Every publisher does things a little differently, but for me, I have a big content edit, and usually, so my editor will get that back to me maybe a couple months after I turn in the book. And I usually get 4 to 6 weeks maybe to do that big content edit that's like high level stuff, like plot or character development, stuff like that. And then a couple months later, there's a line edit, which is what I just finished for The Secrets of Paper and Ink. And that one, I usually have about a week to 2 weeks to do that. And that's just like smaller stuff. So consistency issues, grammatical stuff, whatever. And then there's like a galley proof edit usually at the end, where I get everything formatted and I'm just looking for, proofreading errors or anything big glaring mistakes. So it's hard to say exactly how long, but I basically within a year get everything done. There's a couple breaks here and there. But the initial like book for myself, getting it written and then to my editor, usually is like 6 to 9 months, I would say. Okay, let's see. Jennifer asks, I like how you handled illness in this book. Thank you. Will illness be included in any future books? It might be. I'm not a writer that usually has a whole lot of books in my brain before I write them. So my next book, I just plotted, like I'm plotting it right now, the book that'll come out after The Secrets of Paper and Ink, and it doesn't have to do with any illness, but I definitely won't write it off in the future. And I'm not sure if I'll ever tackle a mom with cancer. It might be a little too difficult, but it might be good too. I don't know. It kind of just depends on the book. My next book, The Secrets of Paper and Ink, deals with some, let's see, it deals with emotional abuse. It deals with divorce. It deals with some other, now I'm like blanking, I mean, I know the book backward and forward, but yeah, it deals with some big issues like that, but not illness. So yeah, definitely something I wouldn't shy away from in the future. Let's see. I'm glad you all like the prizes. That's good. These are all things that I want, so that's how I pick my prizes, stuff that I would actually use or want. What am I reading right now? I am reading an advanced copy of Cynthia Ruchti's next one, which is Miles Before We, I can't remember quite the name of it, but it comes out in October or November, and it's really good. And I'm also reading Sarah Ella's Unblemished series. I started it on vacation, and I just haven't had much time to read since getting back. So yeah, both of those are really good so far. Let's see. Roy and Brenda. So yes, I have 2 books out right now. So One More Song to Sing, and then The Heart Between Us. Those are both available for purchase. And then The Secrets of Paper and Ink comes out in February, but is up for pre-order. So you can go ahead and pre-order that now. Yeah. So, and by the way, The Heart Between Us, if you haven't read it or purchased it, which is totally fine, it is on sale right now for $1.99, the Kindle version. Still, it's been on sale for several weeks, and I'm not sure when that sale is going to end, but I'm guessing maybe the end of the month. They usually like to do it for a whole month, my publisher. So if you want it, go ahead and snatch it up before the end of the month, which I think is Monday. Okay, let's see. How do you choose the names for your characters? Linda. Okay. I'm not very scientific about it, honestly. Actually, what's interesting is in The Heart Between Us, the main character's name was Maddie originally, Madison, but Maddie. And Crystal was always Crystal. But I ended up changing it to Megan because my agent thought Maddie sounded a little young, because Maddie's kind of a popular name for teenagers right now. I mean, obviously, other people have that name that are older, but I kind of used the baby names website, not for my own. I mean, I did use it for my own kids too, but to go see like what were the popular names in this year that somebody was born. So, you know, my character was 32, so which I was that age actually when I wrote the book. So, you know, what would maybe I was 31, but anyway, what you know, what names were popular during that time frame, and then I go through and I pick, and I just kind of, since I have a feel for my character, I kind of just pick one that I like and that kind of embodies the character in my mind. But I ended up changing Maddie to Megan, and Megan is one of my best friends from growing up. So I knew her name was like popular when we were growing up, and also just she's a lovely friend and embodies kind of a lot of the characteristics of Megan. So yeah, that is my non-scientific process for choosing names. Let's see, are you interested in writing a series? I haven't really thought about writing a series, mostly because I like to write kind of like things that are kind of like a big adventure, or, you know, something, somebody goes somewhere. Like my next book, a women's counselor goes to Cornwall, England for the summer, you know, and so I do like the idea of spin-offs or like novellas about, you know, characters that people might have loved and connected with and didn't get to hear much about. I've thought about doing that. I haven't done it yet, but I've thought about that, so I'm not opposed to it. And if a series idea kind of struck me, I definitely wouldn't be opposed to it, but at this point I'm just writing standalones. Let's see. Chloe, I like how realistic both sisters feel. Do you write character backstories and details that don't make it into the book? Yeah, actually, my editor on The Heart Between Us, thank you for the compliment, by the way, but my editor had me kind of do that because she had some questions, and I had just kind of assumed that I knew the backstory of, this was after I had written the book and turned it in, and then she was trying to, you know, figure out, well, why are they, you know, why are they estranged? What one point led to that? And so it was like, okay, I got to go back and figure out what led to that specifically. And I did hint at it in the book, obviously, but I think there was more detail to it. But I just went ahead and wrote out a whole backstory, and that was actually really helpful to me to just know it, even if it doesn't get included. So, anyone else have any more questions? Did I miss any? Let me see. Okay, those are all. I don't think I missed any. I hope I didn't miss any. There's also, I'll go ahead and talk about it in case anyone else, in case I'm not seeing them or something pop up, and or if you have more questions, go ahead and ask. But some questions that I've been asked before, so I'll go ahead and cover those. But what does my day look like, and how do I find time to write with 2 little kids? Because again, they're 15 months and 3.5, so they're into everything. I can't write when they're awake, let's just say. But I have an amazing mother-in-law who takes them on Mondays for me, and so then I have all day where I can get a lot done in one you know, time period, in like 6 to 8 hours. So that's super helpful to me, to have that freedom to do that. And then every day from like 1 to 3, they both are down for a nap. I finally, it was hard when when Theodore was, baby, because he would not necessarily nap at the same time as Elliot, and so it was difficult to find time. But now they're both napping at the same time, and they'll nap for about 2 hours. Even if my oldest doesn't actually nap for the whole time, I have a clock in his room that turns green when he can come downstairs, and he's pretty good about staying in his room. So I have about 2 hours a day to work on stuff, and then every other week, my husband watches the kids in the evening, and I can go out to Starbucks or whatever. Actually, some friends and I, Liz Johnson and Sarah Ella and some others who live here in Phoenix, we will maybe start getting together at Panera to write every other week, which will be fun. But that's kind of how I've found time to do it. I have amazing family and friends that will watch them for me if I, am really, if deadline's approaching and I'm nowhere near finishing. But I've been pretty blessed with that. Anyone else have any questions? Okay, here we go. Have I ever considered writing a mail order bride book? It's not really in my wheelhouse. Usually I think those are historical as well, and I've stuck with contemporary, although my next book does have a historical thread in it because it has a journal from somebody in 1850s England. But no, I've never really, I like reading those, but I haven't really thought about writing one. I probably will just stick to mostly contemporary for now. Tiffany, it's a great book. Thank you. What else have I written? So yeah, I have written just one more book. My first book was One More Song to Sing, and that one takes place in Nashville. It's a mother-daughter book. It's about a girl who is going to Nashville trying to make it as a star, and also trying to find her mother. And Olivia Levitt is a washed-up singer who escaped an abusive family situation when she was just 15, and now she's, starting her own record label and trying to find the face of her label that will work for her. So anyway, so that book is out, and then The Heart Between Us, and then Secrets of Paper and Ink comes next. Yeah, so I'm still a bit of a newbie, but hopefully you guys are enjoying the books that I've written. Oh, there's my cat banging on the door. Nice. I told you it might happen. Please stop. And yeah, oh, my life. This is like I try to go to the bathroom. This is what happens, or I see little fingers under the door, or whatever. And anyway, so where was I? But yes, thank you all of you for having read this and getting started with me, and hopefully you all enjoyed it and will just stick with me as I write more books and keep going. Okay, Christy, how do you decide what a book will be about? Oh man, I always get like a small story spark, and it really grows from there. I mean, lots of prayer, really. It was actually really cool. The last book that I wrote, The Secrets of Paper and Ink, so when I went to American Christian Fiction Writers, it's a big conference that a lot of us go to. Alan Arnold, he used to be I think the publisher at Thomas Nelson, but he did a class about writing with God, and it was just so inspiring to me. It was really, just talking a lot about, like inviting God into your writing every time, and it was just really cool, a really cool idea and concept. And I think he has a book out about it, really. I think The Story of With. I think I haven't read it. I think that's it. Don't quote me on that, but anyway, that was really inspiring. So praying, and so this last book, I really focused on that, and I really felt like God gave me, just every day, he gave me the strength and ideas to write what I needed to write. In fact, I had written maybe 20% of the book before I had Theodore in April of 2017. And then I read Lisa Wingate's Before We Were Yours, which is an amazing book. If you have not read that, go read that book. It's amazing. But it really challenged me, and I thought, oh man, I want to write a book like this. I want to write a book that really impacts people and makes them think and gives them hope. And I just really wanted to write that. And so I went back and like scrapped almost everything that I had written and totally re-brainstormed and came up with a book I was really excited about. But yeah, so it's just a process. I mean, every writer has their process, so that's just kind of part of mine. Like I get a little story spark, I brainstorm, I plot everything out, and then as I write, I'm just praying constantly, like, God, just direct this if hopefully I'm not, hopefully I'm going in the right direction. And so far he has been faithful to give me what I need to make it through. So let's see. Hi, Angela. I have lots of questions, but you probably answered them all. Okay, no worries. See. Thank you, Brenda. I like the sound of it when I first read the blurb. Thank you. Oh, Nicole, what are your favorite authors to read? I mentioned a few of them. Like in the women's fiction space, Katie Anschert's always one. I just read her No One Ever Asked as I was on my cruise, and that one was amazing. I really like Rachel Hauck. She has the Love Letter out recently. That one's really, really good. Susan May Warren, love her stuff. She and Rachel actually were instrumental in me learning how to write. They really mentored me in writing. Beth Vogt, she's really awesome. Elizabeth Byler-Yance, she has The Solace of Water out. Amazing. Trying to think. Catherine Ray, I read all of hers. I love all her Austen, type books. And let's see what else. Who else? Sarah Ella, she has an amazing Unblemished series, which that's more like YA fantasy, but I love that. Melissa Tagg is amazing romantic comedy. Love her. Kara Isaac, love her. Jamie Jo Wright, I just read her. I can't wait to read her Reckoning at Gossamer Pond. That one's going to be awesome. I know it just came out. I haven't had a chance to read it yet. Joanne Bischoff. There's so many. I literally could just be here naming authors forever and ever. Gabrielle Myers, she writes awesome historical romance, the love-inspired historicals. So just so many awesome authors that I like to read. I wish I had more time to read, honestly. I just don't have as much time as I would like, as much as I did before I started writing myself. So, Sarah, I liked the distinction you made between concern and worry. As a mom, I know how hard it is not to worry about your kids like Megan and Crystal's mom did. Have you been able to overcome that, at least temporarily? It's an ongoing process, I know, and how do you do it? So like anytime I see something, this just happened last week, I see something on Facebook about, I read this horrible thing about, parents that lost all 3 of their children in a fire. And I just my heart stops. I think, oh my goodness, what if something like that happens to my kids? And what if? Like if I start going there, my brain, I literally curl up in a ball and I can't do anything. I just, it's awful. I get paralyzed with fear. But that's when I just start praying and thinking God, you are in control ultimately. And when, how long my kids have on this earth and how long I have on this earth. And what's up to me is to, my job is to, sorry, I'm going to start crying. My job is to do what I can on this earth to glorify God and to, live my life in a way that would be pleasing to Him. And all I can do is enjoy every moment that I have. I mean, you really never know when it will end, but and so that's kind of where that worry versus concern, to be worried. Obviously, God wants us to bring our concerns to Him. It's not realistic or authentic if we aren't able to be honest with God and tell Him, I'm fearful, I'm worried, but concern is more I'm expressing that to God, but leaving it in His hands. Worry is, to me, fretting and trying everything I can do to prevent whatever, when it's bad things happen, but God is still there. I remember I struggled a lot with that when my mom was sick, that whole idea of, God wants me to come to Him and, but He could heal her, He could do something about it, but it was more about, am I going to trust Him and know that He is going to use this someday? like I think about it even just with The Heart Between Us, like he used that struggle and that pain to help me write a character that felt authentic to people. At least I hope it did. But some people have told me that they really identified with Crystal because it felt authentic. Well, it felt authentic because it was me, and it was a lot of my struggles with my mom. So I hope that that answers that question. Thank you. Now I'm like almost crying. But thank you for asking that, Sarah. So all of you have some great great authors that you're enjoying as well. Okay, well, it looks like it is almost time for us to be done. If anyone else has asked a question, it's not showing up on my screen. But again, I will go back and answer any questions. So if you still have some, go ahead and ask. I will probably in the next 30 minutes go ahead and pick giveaway winners. So I'll give you a little bit more time to ask some questions or write some comments. But yeah, thank you so much for joining me today. I know there's a lot of things you could be doing with your Saturday, so having you join me was just amazing. I just want to invite you to sign up for my newsletter. I will go ahead and write the, here's my, I just typed in my, my website, lindsayharrel.com, so it's just my name.com. And then if you follow me on, you could follow me on Facebook if you're interested in doing that. That would be great. Hopefully that shows up too. There you go. You can just go and like my page, and then you can keep up with everything that's going on with my books and my writing. So those are in the comments. Oh, like I said, my my book, The Secrets of Paper and Ink, is up for pre-order if you're interested in that. And The Heart Between Us is on sale right now. I don't know how long for $1.99 Kindle version. So anyway, thanks again so much for having you all join me. It was great to be here with you and get to chat with you all. And I hope that you enjoyed The Heart Between Us. If you have any questions, always feel free to email me via the contact page on my website, sign up for my newsletter, keep in touch. And I'm on the Avid readers group all the time. I love to hear what all of you guys have to say about different books and different ideas that you have for reading. And I get a lot of my, my to be read pile list of books from you and your suggestions. So thank you so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your Saturday and weekend. Bye-bye.